Okay, so here we are on GregTrimble.com. There's Greg wearing his nice tie and white shirt at the beach. Maybe he's gonna have an elders quorum meeting there and look real official. So Greg is a convert to the church and an enthusiastic one at that. Seminary teacher and a blogger, and he discovered that the Book of Mormon was true while checking out the surf from his porch, beachfront Corona del Mar. So he's a cool guy, and he wants to spread the coolness of the Book of Mormon here. So he's trying his hand at apologetics, it seems, and see how he does here. So he says, so you think the Book of Mormon is a fraud? And he tells us how he realized from his wonderful balcony how true the Book of Mormon is, and how serious it is to know that, because he heard somewhere, and he's repeating it, that if the Book of Mormon's true, then Joseph Smith must be a prophet. And if Joseph Smith's a prophet, well then, out of all the 150 denominations of Mormonism, the LDS Church in Salt Lake City has got to be the true one. He doesn't tell us why, but that's all right. I think it's probably because it's bigger, and that means you're the winner, and whoever's the biggest and has the most power writes history. So they've also decided no one else should be called Mormon. There's no such thing as a Mormon polygamist, even though there's lots of them. They don't belong to the true church. The true church not only owns the nickname that it doesn't like, but it owns the name the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, except for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with the no hyphen between latter and day, that Jesse James Strang was the head of, that had a letter from Joseph Smith saying he was to be the successor of Joseph Smith should anything happen to him. And Joseph Smith, well, his wife, who became his widow, went there. His mother went there. His brother, William, who was an apostle, went there. The stake president from Nauvoo, where Joseph lived, his stake president, went to Jesse Strang, and so did the presiding bishop of the church, and at least Edward Partridge, and at least two of the three witnesses. Maybe all three. Of course, those guys kind of, well, they went anywhere there was a good seer stone. They pulled that in Kirtland, too, when the little girl had a seer stone and Joseph was gone because, well, things didn't turn out well at the illegal bank, so he took off to Canada for about 5 weeks with Rigdon. When they came back, the girl with the seer stone had about half of the church or more following her, including all three of his three witnesses, which were so holy and full of discernment that they chose the 12 apostles. Go figure. Anyway, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here. He tells us it's crucial to know that the Book of Mormon is true, and that is true. Now he says, I don't know why people argue about other things and pick at other pieces of doctrine. Just go after the Book of Mormon. That's what it's all about, because it's so vital. Well, Greg, you see, the problem with your assertion there is that since the church says that it is the one true church of God, established and guided by Jesus Christ, then you just about have to expect something close to perfection or absolute perfection, not from the people in all their behavior. We can make mistakes. Adultery's stretching it, but, Joseph Smith was special. He got to get out, free pass for a while on that with the Apologist at any rate. But, you'd expect revelations to be consistent and not contradicting. And you'd expect the doctrines not to be changing, especially when the Book of Mormon does say that God is unchanging and his course is one eternal round. It says that he doesn't lie. Well, at least the brother of Jared thought so in Ether chapter 3 verse 14. Oh, excuse me. That's the one where I'm getting a little off. It's probably about verse 5 where he says, "Thou art a God of truth and canst not lie." We better get to that later. Yeah, and then Jesus lies to him, in verse 15, if not in verse 9, telling him he's the first guy that's ever seen him. Can you believe that? And Joseph Smith published that before he screwed up and wrote Books of Moses and Doctrine and Covenants 107, where he has God appearing to Enoch and all the people that live with him for 365 years, plus everybody at Adam-on-Diamond, which were the same people. They just came back to Missouri from the city of Zion. I'm not sure why. They'd been there for 240 years, but they came back there so Jesus could appear to them when he already lived with them. We'll probably take a look at those scriptures. Oh, I think I'm getting ahead of myself again. So anyway, you decided that you're going to challenge us, and you've copied the wonderful challenge written by Hugh Nibley, the famous church apologist. Nice insurance ad, Greg. Okay, so we're going to get there. We're working on it. Here they are. So you've got these 10 assertions, which are basically going to say, hey, the Book of Mormon must be true unless you can figure out a way to do all these amazing sounding things. If you can't figure out how Joseph made it, well, then it must have come from God. That sounds kind of like a false paradigm. Once again, you're pretty good at that, but you've got an excellent tutor, the church. Okay, so it's true unless we can figure out how he made it. So if somebody figures out how he made it down the road, then all those people that knew it was true because they couldn't before they figured it out, well, then that wasn't true. Again, that's just kind of like the way the church does things too. Everything Brigham Young said was true when he was the prophet, but now, well, they just disavow them as theories of, should we call him a racist? I don't want to call him that, but I'm pretty sure that the gospel doctrine, gospel topic essays on Brace and the Priesthood insinuates that. So, number one, could an uneducated boy come up with the 531 pages? Well, was he a boy when he published it, when he was about 23 years old? Was he uneducated? Didn't he know how to read? Didn't he have a library there in Palmyra? And his father taught school part-time sometimes? I mean, do you have to go to some kind of a private or public school to be educated? I think you might offend some homeschoolers, Greg. Better leave that one alone. And that whole boy thing. That sounds a little deceptive, but then Hugh was pretty deceptive. Okay. Would it be possible to understand chiasmus, all that sort of thing, in Hebrew literary writing styles? Well, he did copy a lot out of the... Oh, did I say copy? Well, Nephi copied a bunch out of the Old Testament, and you did kind of get used to that sort of thing, and hey... There's chiasmus in non-Hebraic, non-religious writings, and in more abundance in some cases than happen to be in the Book of Mormon. Of course, modern technology allows many books to be analyzed at the same time. A guy named Chris Johnson did a real good talk on that. He also discovered the answer to the next one here. On the Arabian Peninsula, the place called like NMH, Hebrews aren't into vowels or something. He found that same letter sequence using software like all over the globe. So there happens to be one on the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, that's great. Well, anyway, if someone's been in a particular area, of course Joseph Smith hadn't been to the Arabian Peninsula, but, well, how was he getting his information? Let's think just a moment. How do people get information? Holy prophets. Well, I haven't seen any holy prophets prophesying, but I've heard of automatic writing and Ouija boards and crystal balls and seer stones. Wait a minute, that sounds kind of familiar. Didn't Joseph Smith use a seer stone? And isn't that one of the methods that all the people that are into magic and witchcraft use, just like the crystal balls and automatic writing and channeling? Why, those are all from the occult. What was Joseph Smith doing with a seer stone? Oh, that's right. He was looking for treasure and then doing doing incantations and sacrifices to appease the demons guarding the treasure. And just in case people think that's a bunch of stuff that some born-again Christians made up, well, they should tell that to Joseph Smith's mommy, because she had that kind of stuff in her manuscript, and so did many of his friends. So, actually, his father-in-law watched him putting his head in the hat to translate the Book of Mormon, and he said it was the same rock in the same hat that he used to go searching for treasure. And his father-in-law was in the treasure searching party that Joseph was the seer for. That's how he met his daughter. We're not going to get into the farmer's daughter story where Joseph elopes with Emma Hale. Okay, so we got some other ones here. Other sheep have I. Well, that's got to be, the Nephites. Just had to be. And there's people that think that Jesus came to America. Have you checked out the ancient alien things? Yeah. Every time that they say they say it's Jesus now. All the stories about whoever they say came to America. So does that prove the Book of Mormon's true? Let's. There's so many witnesses of the plates. So many witnesses of the plates. And not one of them deny their testimonies. Well, let's think about that. You've got the three witness guys that said they actually said they kind of visualized it. Martin Harris was asked by the printer if he really saw the angel, and what did he say? Well, he said, I saw him with my spiritual eyes. I didn't actually see him with my natural eyes. Okay, so if they left the church, why didn't they say, "Hey, I lied. I'm completely dishonest, and I just like to ruin my reputation along with leaving the church"? They had already left the church. They said Joseph Smith was a fallen prophet because he was an adulterer, which was a problem for a lot of these people. They didn't mind getting involved with the plates thing and try to make a little money on the side or whatever Harris was doing with that, but they couldn't go along with the adultery thing. So they denounced him and left the church. Why should they say, "I lied about the plates"? Why should they? There's nothing in it for them positive. It's complete negative. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen used to defend it. They left the church, but they never denied it. They never said, "I'm a freaking liar." There's so much benefit for them. And then number 10. How could the Book of Mormon never contradict itself while being an extremely complex book? After all these years, someone would have found something, but no. Well, Greg, it's hard for me to imagine that you're not aware that it is filled with contradiction. Contradictions of itself, and contradictions of all kinds of other LDS scripture that Joseph Smith came up with, by the way, not that, ruined Bible that the great and abominable church got a hold of. So it should be in harmony with all of his revelations and of his successors, but it's not. And we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to take a little pause here, though. So what we're learning here, Greg, is besides these being, well, not so great, we don't have to prove that we could make a Book of Mormon just like Joseph Smith. Of course, like I said, he could have channeled it. All kinds of spiritual entities out there, including that devil, that know all the geography and could easily give him the same information. Just because someone gets information from a spiritual source doesn't mean that it's the one true God of the one true church. It just doesn't mean that at all. As a matter of fact, if we find any contradiction, then we know that there must be a problem, because God's perfect and doesn't make mistakes, Greg. There wouldn't be any contradictions, but we're aware of many, and we're going to take a look at them.